In this video, I'll be going over lesson 22, which is about using random samples. Our first question here says that a town of 5,000 voters will have an election for a new mayor. Before the election, 100 residents are randomly selected for a poll that asks which candidate they prefer. The results of the poll are shown in the table. Based on the data, approximately how many people will vote for Mrs. Barkley in the election? Okay, so what we want to do here is this poll has 100 people, right? But there's 5,000 total voters in this town. So if I'm going from 100 to 5,000, I need to multiply by some number. So 100 times some number is going to give me this 5,000. And if you don't know, you can divide them. So 5,000 divided by 100 is going to give me 50. So I am multiplying the amount of people that I selected for this poll by 50 to get me this 5,000. Okay, so this question is talking about Mrs. Barkley here. So if I look at Mrs. Barkley got 35 votes. So I need to take 35 and multiply it by 50. Okay, so you can use a calculator to type this in. When you do 35 times 50, you get 1,750, which means that approximately she should expect to get 1,750 votes in this upcoming election. Our next question says that a random sample of 100 students was taken from a population of 2,400 students, and half of their hair colors of the 100 students are recorded in this table. Okay, so based on the data, approximately how many students in the population have black hair? So again, like that other problem, we need to go from the 100 people that were surveyed to this 2,400 total. So if I divide these, my zeros will cancel. I'm left with 24, which means that I need to take 100 and multiply it by 24 to get to that 2,400 people that are all the students taken from this population. The question's asking me approximately how many students will have black hair. So if I look at my table here, there are 28 students who have black hair. So if I take 28 and multiply it by 24, again, you can type this into a calculator, I get 672. So that means that 672 students approximately are going to have black hair. Our next question, we have this candidate again. We have our 3 candidates running for mayor. The question is asking me which conclusion can be made. And it looks like we're talking about who's most likely and who's least likely to win. Okay, well, I know that Mrs. Baker is most likely to win because she has the most amount of votes, right? Mrs. Baker is most likely to win. And Mr. Brickman, unfortunately, is going to be least likely to win because he has the smallest amount of votes from this poll here, okay? So Mrs. Baker is least likely to win. No. Mrs. Barkley is most likely to win. Nope, because Mrs. Barkley's in the middle. She's kind of in the middle. She's not most or least. Mr. Brickman's most likely to win. Well, no, because he has the least amount of votes. So that means that D is our answer we want to pick here. Mr. Brickman is least likely to win because he got the smallest amount of votes. Our next question, we're talking about those hair colors again. We want to know which conclusions can be made about the population. So it looks like we're picking the 2 most common hair colors. All of our answer choices are talking about most common hair colors here. So if I look at the 2 that have the highest numbers, right, because the more numbers you have, the more common it is. So it looks like brown and black hair have the most amount of people who have those 2 colors. So that means that brown and black hair are going to be the most common. Brown and black hair are going to be the most common. Our next question says that Gracella and Donnie want to predict the results of a class election. Gracella polls every other person who exits the voting booth, and Donnie polls all of the girls in his economic class. Which sampling is likely to provide reasonable results? Okay. So remember that when you're surveying people, you want it to be random. Okay, you want each person to have the same chance of being selected as the person before that. So with Gracella here, she pulls every other person who exits a voting booth. To me, that sounds random because you don't know the order in which people are going to be voting. However, Donnie just pulls all of the girls in his economics class. That's not really random, right? He's literally he's in his economics class and he's asking all the girls in there who they voted for. So Donnie is not random. Nope. And it's not both, but Gracella's here was random. Her method was random, so she is most likely to provide the most reasonable results out of the two of them. Our next question says that Natalia and Lisette want to find out which colors are liked by most middle school students in their town. Natalia selects 6 students from her math class using a random number generator, and then Lisette polls every 5th student that exits her math class. Which sampling method is likely to provide reasonable results? Okay, so for this question here, Natalia and Lisette are only asking people from their math class, right? And there's a lot of middle schools in a town. At least like in the town where I live, I probably have 4 or 5 different middle schools that are all considered to be within my town. So if they're asking students only from their math classes, that's not really enough people for them to ask to get a good idea of what color is liked most by middle school students. So yes, both of the way that they went about it using the random number generator and then every 6 student, those are random methods. However, their sample isn't big enough. It's not enough people to give us a good idea of what the actual most liked color is. So because their sample size wasn't large enough to provide reasonable results, neither method is likely to be good. All right, our last question here says that a random sample, we're talking about the hair colors again. It says that Raquel concludes that there are fewer students in the population with red hair than there are of any other color. Okay, well, right off the bat, you might be going, well, red is automatically the smallest. However, if I look at the number of students who have blonde hair, it's only 19. So those are pretty close, right? 17 and 19 they're right next to each other. They're one number apart. So they're very, very close to being tied, okay? And our population has 2,400 students. So that's a lot more than this 100 students that were sampled, right? So there's a very good chance that red could take the lead and overcome blonde at the end of the results. So because the numbers are too close together, the answer here is no, because she can't just jump to that conclusion because there's not a big enough gap. She has to kind of wait and maybe poll a few more students to really get a good idea. So no, because the results for blonde and red were too close. All right, that is all I have for lesson 22. If you have any other questions, please let me know.